The Scarlet Keys Campaign Expansion contains a 10-scenario non-linear campaign suitable for any investigators and introduces some distinctive new rules and card types. The Scarlet Keys is the 8th full-length cycle released for Fantasy Flight Games' Arkham Horror the card game. It comes in the modern format with a small disposable box with new investigators and player cards and a larger sturdy storage box with the campaign, so you can buy either of those independently. You don't need to play through this campaign using the Scarlet Keys investigators or player cards. You could even just use the investigators and cards found in your core box. Although we suggest you start with an earlier cycle if you are a new player, as that has less new rules. And it is always recommended you start with fresh investigators and new level 0 decks rather than trying to carry over the characters you played in a previous game. Because this was released new in 2022, it isn't a repackage of an older archaic format with a million blister packs to chase down, so you shouldn't get confused when purchasing. Rather than confronting a named Lovecraftian horror, you are going up against a secret society called the Red Coterie. A coterie is just a posh name for an exclusive organization. These people are making things disappear from reality and collecting magical MacGuffins. Their history in the Arkham Files lore, and more importantly their artwork, goes right back to the original Arkham Files game, the Call of Cthulhu card game. But they didn't really have much backstory other than a cool colour scheme, so this product fleshes out their goals and motivation and adds to their roster. You may already know some of these folks from their appearance or at least their artwork in earlier expansions. The box is the same physical size as the new revised core set or any of the other modern campaign releases. The blurb on the rear promises a new keyword, a new card type and 49 new mini-cards as confirmed by the recommendation for yellow-sized sleeves. This product also has the highest scenario card count at 350, 7 more than Edge of the Earth and 43 more than the Dunwich Legacy. Whilst we open this up, let's hear what one of the designers, MJ Newman, had to say about creating this product.
Is by far and away, easily, the most ambitious stuff we've ever done and the most difficult content we've ever had to produce. And it's by a factor of like 10. But I'm really excited. I can't really tell you anything more. All I'm going to say is that it makes me so happy. So I'm really excited.
The box itself is made from thick, sturdy card, just like the core box. One of the best features are these little labels marking the top and bottom, so you can put your lid on the correct way every time. Great for us OCD types. There is a tri-fold map that measures 11 inches by 17 inches. This isn't a free gift, but is included because the campaign, like all the best Mythos romps, is a globe-spanning adventure whose scenarios can be played and replayed in a flexible order. Whilst they say this is a non-linear campaign, that doesn't mean it is a true free-for-all. Rather, there is no set and no optimal path that the scenario should be played in. Although you always start the campaign with London as the opening chapter in every playthrough. But from there you can travel along any of these routes to other cities and play other scenarios. You can even add in additional side quests in the form of the standalone scenarios at fixed points along the map. These are the places marked in green. You are free to skip over cities if you don't want to stop there. There are also special locations marked in red that can only be interacted with once you have unlocked them by completing set tasks during the campaign. Yes, this map started off as the one from Eldritch Horror, so it looks familiar, but it has been personalised to this story. And we do like all the fabulous little Lovecraftian touches. The back of the map is nothing special, but to be fair, they could have just saved money by leaving it blank, so well done FFG. You will want to frame this, add personalised notes, or even pin it up on the wall and get some of the classic red string to follow your investigator's journey. But there is no note giving you permission to photocopy it, and so it is unlikely to be released as a PDF. which is a shame as this map looks fantastic at huge size, as anyone who saw FFG at Essenspiel this year will attest. This is the campaign booklet, and like everything in this cycle, it is bigger than ever, clocking in at a whopping 72 pages, making it 8 pages longer than Edge of the Earth, and more than double the 26 pages of the Dunwich Legacy, the first ever cycle. It is spiral bound, not stapled, allowing it to lay flat on your table. Although this does mean it takes up plenty of space, so it is a good job you can fold the pages all the way over. It is made from a glossy but alarmingly thin paper stock, so do be careful when turning your pages, as wear and heaven forbid tears can appear very quickly through normal use. On the front is the artwork from the box cover, and on the rear is a quick reference to the page numbers of the 14 new rules and mechanics this cycle uses. Way more than the 9 featured in the last campaign. Another indication of scale are the 26 new encounter sets in this box, in addition to the 8 drawn from the core box for a total of 34. Again, much larger than the 24 plus 4 in Edge of the Earth. Finally, we have the credits and playtesters. One thing to note is the addition of a cultural and sensitivity review panel, which, as this story features people, places and cultures from all over the world, seems like a good way not to put your foot in it. As the first scenario is set in London, this geezer would go Monty's army if anyone disrespected his pearly kings and queens or their jelly deals, pie and mash, cockles and welts, and someone would get their Hampstead Heath knocked out of their north and south by an Oliver Twist. Know what I'm saying? Uh-oh, here comes the trouble and strife. I'm getting on with it. Inside the front cover is a tiny introduction with a particularly thematic quote from Out of the Aeons, which appeared in the April 1935 issue of Weird Tales magazine. It is a story that Lovecraft co-wrote with regular collaborator Hazel Heald. Here is the expansion icon and the promise of a 10-scenario non-linear open-ended campaign. Although, as the routes you can take are marked on the map and non-negotiable, there is at least a little bit of linear. Plus, you have a finite amount of time, so it definitely comes to an end. But yes, this is undoubtedly a huge departure from the fixed scenario order of all previous campaigns. Then comes the massive table of contents and a heart-stopping moment when you think this campaign may have 26 scenarios to play through. You were already told it only has 10, one of which you always play as a prologue, and maybe one which is always used as the end, right? There are 21 blue stars on the map, so it isn't giving too much away to say that some of the places you visit will be a massive amount of story text to read and some campaign choices to make rather than a full scenario to set up. And if there are 26 entries and 21 accessible locations, you can probably work out that some of these will be for those locked red cities. In fact, there is a place in your campaign log to write in the numbers when you are told to. A clever bit of design is that the codes on the map help you to find your way. The letter corresponds to the scenario or interlude tied to that place, and the number is the actual page number in the campaign guide, so you can skip directly to it without having to look through an index. How neat is that? And for all you conspiracy nuts who were analysing the cryptic tweets that FFG were putting out to tease this campaign, the numbers on the dossiers. Anyone watching our Fortune and Folly coverage would have seen a new card type introduced, the Key. These are double-sided cards representing powerful artifacts that you can flip over to trigger in-game effects. And they aren't just for you, as the enemies and even the story asset characters get to wield them. Picture going up against that swarm of rats, but then they suddenly pull out a lightning gun. To help distinguish these, they have their name at the bottom of the card and a fancy new border. The next big mechanic is the concealed keyword that appears on some enemy cards in this campaign. When you draw these enemies from the encounter deck, instead of spawning them engage with you, take one of the new mini cards that matches the enemy, plus a number of mini cards marked decoy equal to the concealed value on the card. So an enemy with the concealed 2 keyword would shuffle 2 decoy mini cards plus their matching mini card and spread these out evenly amongst the locations in play, starting with the nearest to the investigator whose player drew the encounter card. This is great news for solo players or squishy investigators, as it reduces the number of enemies that automatically engage you and have to be beaten off with your shoe. If there is one of these concealed mini cards at your investigator's location, you can reveal it by damaging it, evading it, or investigating the location. The test difficulty is the shroud value of the location the mini card is at. These three methods should mean that all investigators can participate in hunting around for the baddies. Although, when you reveal them, the actual enemy moves to the location and will engage. Our small tip is to try and look at these cards as little as possible, as they contain enemies from future scenarios, one of which scared the shit out of us. The alert keyword, originally introduced in the Forgotten Age, and the patrol keyword from Murder at the Excelsior make a return, just because you can't make scenarios too complicated, right? There is also a small note to say that you can't use the Red Glove Man ally card in your decks during this campaign. Poor Horace. He's our favourite ally. Well, at least until Norm makes his debut. And finally you have the Chaos Bag setup. Well, we say and finally, but there are actually even more new rules. However, those clever designers have moved them further into the rulebook, only to be revealed as you need them. For instance, you don't get introduced to tracking time until you reach the first scenario. The travel rules don't appear until you make your first journey. And any scenario-specific rules appear in that scenario text to try and stop everything being front-loaded. People forget that an essential part of game design is the rulebook and how it teaches the player to play the game. Do you remember those dossiers we mentioned that Fantasy Flight revealed on their social media? Well, they are actually an integral part of this campaign's flavour and appear throughout the book attached to particular locations. After you have played the prologue, you are allowed to peek at them at any time. Literally, as soon as you have finished scenario 1, you can read every single one of them. At the top of each one is a reminder that you have permission, and it is really hard not to. For people that like the role-playing aspect of this game, this can help you make in-character decisions of where to visit next and is really neat. When reading, you will have to ignore the scenario intros on each page, however. Maybe these could have had a section of their own. If you do suffer from analysis paralysis, the first interlude gives you rumours about many of the cities on the map which might help you decide where to go next. The attention to detail on the graphic design throughout this book is excellent, with the first page of each scenario being made to look like an intelligence file, complete with tape header, photograph and typewritten redacted report. Yes, they had paperclips in the 1920s. We dug through the records of the United States Patent Office and found Samuel B. Fay's design in 1867. You're good, FFG. It is a shame that these pictures are so small. In fact, there are quite a few pictures scattered throughout this book which are barely bigger than the cards they appear on. But at 72 pages and 350 cards, this product was undoubtedly straining the budget to bursting point. In fact, they couldn't even afford to put in an advert. Which is a shame, as they should really be telling you that there is an anthology of short stories published by Aconite Books that ties in with this campaign. It isn't just a cheap spin-off either. All the authors were given access to the campaign while it was in development and worked closely with the design team to ensure one cohesive storyline. There is even one from MJ Newman, one of the game's lead developers. Speaking of reading, you will be pleased to know the text remains as tiny as ever, so have your reading glasses at the ready. It is a bugbear of ours that this game doesn't believe in the principle of show don't tell, and the amount of story text has been growing significantly over the years. Book, game, read, play. According to multiple sources, up to 20% of the population may suffer with some form of dyslexia. Not to mention poor vision or having to play a game in English because it has not been localized into your native language, so adding more text to read can challenge a lot of players. But this isn't actually 72 pages of text. Discounting the cover, campaign log, intros and indexes, new rules, achievement list and designer's notes reduces the page count by 8. Oh, there's an achievement list by the way. More evidence this product won't be seeing a return to box. There are 12 pages of scenario resolutions, and you only read one option of these per playthrough. Likewise, the interludes and scenario intros often include optional paragraphs you skip based on your campaign choices. In fact, there are whole pages of conditional text based on what is written in your campaign log. And this game makes a big thing of being non-linear, so you won't have to read all of the locations because you won't get a chance to travel there before the time runs out. So if reading is a challenge for you, it's not going to be as daunting as you might fear. Are we done yet? You wish! There are 11 individually wrapped packs of scenario cards. 10 are actual scenarios, some of which feel very thin indeed. But don't worry about that, as the big brick at the back is all your generic encounter sets, of which there are plenty. These packs are handily arranged in the order they are listed on the contents page. It is a shame they don't have the scenario letter on the scenario card, but you can't have everything. The last card in each of these is often one of the new key cards, so beware of spoilers as they are double-sided. Your mini cards do come in a Ziploc bag, which is great for storing them, even when sleeved. There is your usual plastic tray at the bottom, which for this campaign is coloured sinister black. Maybe it should have been red or scarlet. Just saying. If you do like to use dividers that stick up above the level of your cards to make them easier to find, then make sure you put your campaign guide underneath your tray so it doesn't bend and squash them. This campaign is a masterpiece and something that you would expect as the swan song of a designer who has been at the helm for 6 years. It demonstrates what can be done once you break free of the monthly 60-card Mythos pack format. It is the most replayable of all the campaigns, purely because you can't visit all of the places, or even play all of the scenarios in a single playthrough. There is plenty of incentive to keep trying to make the most successful run-through, and unlock as many of the secrets in one go as possible. Plus, most scenarios and interludes have a different experience according to how much time you have crossed off. There are even a few unique pieces of flavor text only given to investigators with particular traits. It is small, but when one player in your 4-player game gets a secret note from the invisible GM, it is pretty sweet. But this is certainly complex, with many new and returning rules for you to get to grips with. There is a lot of conditional text that can totally break down if someone forgets to make a note in their campaign log, plus time as a resource for you to keep track of and budget for. So we definitely wouldn't recommend this as your first purchase straight after your core box. We saw it also mentions that each scenario can be played in standalone mode, but we didn't see any instructions in each scenario on how to set up the chaos bag or what to do when it asks you to check your campaign log, which you won't have in a standalone mode. The achievement Line in the Sand requires you to win the campaign with at least 3 ultimatums active, but it doesn't tell you what an ultimatum is. Not everyone has been playing this game since September 2017 or got a chance to attend that year's Invocation event. You can download the Invocation PDF in English, Polish or German from the event outline section of the Arkham LCG product page on the FFG English website. Or why not learn all about them in Arkham Chronicle tutorial number 27. Later upload the video! I did it all by myself! And remember, the order in which your status reports appear on your time passed calendar are not the same as the order they are listed in the status reports page. Read the one that corresponds to your Greek letter and not just the next one down on the page. Well, I guess we're kind of done now. Did you know there is still time to enter the Chaos Cards unofficial costume contest in November as a Scarlet Keys character and win fabulous prizes? Or promo cards, depending on your outlook. We would really appreciate it if you shared this video.